Each slide that are going to be shown on that screen.
So anyway, let me see about the food. Let's see how Dr. Frazier's doing here. How's the school life going? Are y'all as miserable as us in healthcare? Oh, I totally agree with you there. Totally agree with you there. And I don't know. And I don't know if people are touching it. And when did it become a cause? For people just being. I mean, nobody's on. And okay.
And you can hear okay? I mean,
No respect for authority of any kind.
I could hear.
I mean, not even. And that's what I'm saying, is because parents, I say they know it's to come back from training.
I think one person saw them in college. It's called me. Okay. All right, thanks. Okay. So we've got that running. YouTube's working. Okay. Here, it's not the best here.
The technology. So we have a redundant system. This is for when such is life.
Yeah.
We
Well,
know
maybe,
what you'll be doing tomorrow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. You know.
Is it intentional? Where is we? This one. Yeah. Very. Yes. I'm not doing
That's not what they hear.
This is true.
All right, good evening. Call the PRTC Commissioners meeting to order, 7 o'clock. PRTC is live streaming the meeting on PRTC's YouTube channel. This information was on PRTC's website, Facebook page, and at both facilities. Can we please rise for a moment of silence? And while we're doing this moment of time, let me just read this. I'd like to ask that we pause for a moment of time while we reflect on Robert Cunningham, a WMAT and WMATA mechanic for more than 20 years, who died heroically while trying to protect innocent lives during an active shooter incident at Potomac Avenue Metro Station in February. That time was a little bit on the 43 seconds, death in honor of Mr. Cunningham's Lord. Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance. Okay. Legal, please call the roll.
Victor Angry,
Here.
Kenny Bodie, Margaret Franklin, here, Janine Lawson, Kinsley Vega, Karen Mills, Kim Short, Ann Wheeler, Tanisha Allen, Monty Gary, here, Meg Bumpy, Pamela Young, Pamela Sabesky, here, Ralph Smith, Jeanette Rischel, Alana Mensing, here, Daryl Moore, Matthew Kelly, Jason Graham, Deborah Frazier, here, Lori Hayes, Tim McLaughlin, David Ross, Jennifer DeBrule, Todd Horsley, Grant Sparks, Elizabeth Guzman, George Parker. Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
Motion to approve. Any changes? We have a motion by Commissioner Short, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any changes, additions? Okay.
Victor Angry, Margaret Franklin. Kim Short. Gary. Matthew Kelly, Deborah Frazier, Todd Horsley. Chairman, that motion's approved.
Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Frazier, second by Commissioner Short. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Victor Angry, Margaret Franklin, Karen Mills, Kim Short, Monica Gary, Pamela Sabetsky, Alana Mensing, Matthew Kelly, Deborah Frazier, Todd Horsley. Mr. Chairman, that motion is approved.
This is Donald.
Chairman. You have. Just a quick update. For the month of January, overall ridership state. Of course, found it out with public. And some of the pick back up to bring open. About on-time performance, 80s, 90%, but we did know there was some congestion relief, if you will, on the net. And we expect that to continue on February. I did want to also the information, the annual BRE that is available electronically as well through the link. Lots of different activities. Our extensive community outreach events that we did throughout the year. I do, as you thumb through that, one thing I just you have is that it does take a lot of people in this region to make this happen. This is just a BRE staff accomplishment in partnership with non-union staff, or partners here, the NDPC staff, and frankly, all of your jurisdiction staff. So I just wanted to just ask you to think about that as you're going through this. There's a lot of activity there, a lot of people in this region. That is my that is a summary of my report.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any questions for Mr. Dahl? I do see no one action. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so item 6.2, we're seeking authorization for the chief executive officer to execute a funding agreement with Amtrak. Just as a quick background, this process goes back about 5 years. We made a commitment to Amtrak to participate as in the form of a local match for a very important project at Washington Terminal, which would effectively remove a lot of the congestion that we see up there. And so, and that background's in the item. But so fast forward a little bit, in 2020, Amtrak was able to receive an FRA grant for about 50% of the cost of this project. And through that grant, they were allowed to proceed with the project to get it going. And while Amtrak and PRE worked out the particulars on getting a local match. As you recall, our budget process and in January, there was an element in the budget to recognize the allocation. So this is the actual funding agreement, which basically captures the share, the local match share between Amtrak and PRE. But most importantly, what this project will do is meant as a congestion relief. This project actually came out of Washington Union Terminal master planning process over the last decade or so. And this was identified as a very critical component that could be pulled out and be done independently. So we're very excited about this. Good thing is that the project's already underway, and we're going to make this local match contribution if you approve this, and that capacity enhancement will be available to this summer. That's my summary, Mr. Chairman.
The move. Second. All right, motion by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Franklin. Any discussion? Vote.
Victor Angry.
Aye.
Margaret Franklin. Karen Mills. Kim Short. Monica Gary. Pamela Zabesky. Alana Nensing. Matthew Kelly. Victor Frazier. Todd Horsley. Mr. Chairman, that motion is approved.
Thank you, sir. So you'll see 6.3, a lot of information on the review, so if you click on those links, get more information on that. And so thank you, Mr. Dahl, sir. Thank you and the team. Okay, we're gonna move on to public comment time. So public comment time, let me read the person, no discussion on the questions asked. Miss, do you have any speakers or any written?
No one submitted written comments prior to the deadline.
Okay, so anyone present to speak, what we'll do is just approach the podium here. Then just, if you want name. Yeah, just give us your name, and then, you got 3 minutes to speak, so. We don't really have a sign up order, so what I'll do is, everyone that wants to speak, maybe, I saw you walking and raise your hand, and you want to go first? Okay, I sure will, you love it. There it is, you're gonna podium here, just take your name and go at, you got 3 minutes, okay?
So I go to Buffalo. And I live at Courtney on the corner, Courtney and Manassas Drive, is really close to the stuff to my house, which is 2 blocks. And so I would just walk over there, pick up the bus and zip over to the mall and do whatever I need to do and zip back home. It took me 10 minutes to get over there and back. Currently, I understand there is no way to get to that side of town via any kind of public transportation unless it takes over an hour. Am I correct?
So what this is, it's not in process, so you just have 3 minutes to kind of state your comments and concerns. And we will hear you, and then eventually we'll, not during this process, we'll take those down and try to figure out something. Well, yes, that will follow it, so. So this is where you just get to tell us what your concerns are, and then we'll write it in. Yeah. Yes. And so, man, is that it for your comment? Okay. So next up, come on up there, get to the podium. You have any more speakers? Anybody else wanna? No, going once, going twice? Okay. So we're gonna move on to consent agenda. So can I get a motion to turn? Okay. Mr. Kelly motion, Mr. Gary second. Call for the vote.
Before we call for the vote, I believe Commissioner has something he wants to say about the consent agenda.
Taking an item off that do need to abstain. Have a rolling. Case rolling.
That's fine, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Right, calling the roll. Victor Angry.
Aye.
Margaret Franklin. Aye. Karen Mills. Kim Short. Monica Gary. Pamela Stadesky.
Aye.
Alana Mensing. Matthew Kelly. Deborah Frazier. Todd Bursley. Mr. Chairman, that motion is approved.
Okay. Move on to. Yeah, this is good.
Thank you. So, first of all, thank you for all of the finance. Share with us, Robert. That hit us all hard as workers. We've been at this for a 25 years now, 30-year veterans, et cetera. In addition to violence we can hear, we had a local silence involved, and we had our fleet all over. In addition, NDTC that last week they donated on $30 account, but we'll be making matching donations to scholarship. Thank you all. Additionally, as you can see, we've gone back to the 90 for tonight's discussion. It's very budgety. If you enjoyed public meetings back then, if we put the technology is streaming on YouTube, it is not streaming in this room, and we don't. Wow. So we know IT will be very busy tomorrow. But in the meantime, so what we've done is just to prepare you. The slide deck for the budget is a handout of your seat. So that's been taken care of along with all the slides for the meetings. If you've already done your prep work, nothing's changed. The information is all there. We do apologize to Supervisor Franklin for the buzz directly next to her in her space. A ridership update, unfiltered January average for January of 2023, just last month, is up about 20% since December. That's a fantastic number. And up over 80% from January 2022. Please do not get overly excited about that. That was a blizzard. in which people trapped in a car, so we didn't have service on the commuter side, and then we even had snow after that. So that's another example of how tough it is to track month over month, but since we haven't had any weather events, January, December is pretty good. For local bus, January average daily ridership is up about 6% in December 2022, and almost up 50% in January 2022. Again, the caveat, we were running more local service during that period, so that makes the impact there. Sunday service is still doing fantastic for our Eastern local bus service. For January ridership, Sunday is roughly 60% of Saturday ridership. That's what almost any transit system in America wants automatically, and we're there within 5 months. So that is some fantastic news. And it shows how thirsty the region has been for that to do something. Pre-COVID numbers, I will get you a ridership report. We are surpassed, Aaron, make sure I'm saying this right, we have surpassed ridership on every route pre-COVID, or everything is up over COVID. So our local ridership has rebounded. The underwrite staff spent considerable time at commuter lots and Pentagon speaking with passengers, monitoring service to assist with the operational challenges we face, as you know, call out, limited number of hires, attrition, just a natural part of the process, but it's really given us a great opportunity to not only hear what the concerns are for passengers we do have issues, but also it's been fantastic to have staff there when things go right. So it's nice to not always be there when things go wrong. It's great to be there and thank operators and then celebrate when things do go well. Our micro transit only service in the Manassas Park, and that's one thing staff, Aaron, would you please touch base with, I think we have a solution for that service. And the micro transit only service has been operating very well the past 9 days. It launched on January 1st. So it really, we don't have any ridership trends to really report, but I do want to say we got some positive feedback from a person who represents the blind community. She called us directly and commended Keyless operator Tim Wyrick and his professionalism and how fantastic he was factor. So when someone calls up to say a name, it's a great opportunity to do that. And I've passed the staff for doing some recognition for those impact. That's tricky in dealing with person with disabilities, especially with mobility limitation, communication. So we're excited about that. Appreciate the work you've done. Legislative updates, send up a do no harm session in the General Assembly. Basically, the goal is to ensure funding isn't taken away for non-transit projects. If you noticed in the newspaper, that was a big effort, $100 million a year to be taken for transportation. That did not get too far, but our lobbyists has kept us in the loop and helped communicate our success and innovation. That's gone well as talking about transportation project. Again, we are a nonpartisan organization. We're mobility organization, sharing that information universally and our success, the pandemic bounce back. As crossover unfolds this week, we expect majority of items to kill or be killed. As the two chambers really don't see eye to eye on a lot of issues. We will watch that, and so far, no harm done. We still do have the major budget holes to fill up there, including the loss of the grocery tax and declining motor fuel collection, but with the session, we've gone backwards. For understanding the impact of the grocery tax, if you saw the news over the past week and a half about the impacts on the miscalculation for the education budget, that is the grocery tax on the NFC. So now, of course, the administration wisely is making sure there's no calculation so far. It's not been an issue for the transportation fund. It's something that we need to pay attention to because if it gets education, where else might there be miscalculation? Or that. And so moving forward there, I want to announce our March meeting will include a zero emissions bus workshop mission prior to the main meeting. So we'll have that at 5 o'clock. You don't need to worry about that. Christine will reach out to the commission for those who are interested. If we only have 1 or 2, maybe we come to you where you're at. If you want to include staff, but we're going to open it up to all commission and see who has that interest in inside what is zero emission vehicles, and we'll have our consultant team from Kinley Horn come in to talk about it. And of course, I will say this, you're more than welcome to invite your friends. The city treasurers for fleet, the county fleet, if there's other organizations that it's about us, but the lessons learned will translate to other organizations, and then we'll share some sources of info. That final next month will be asked to formally adopt it, which is helpful because all of our grant applications will be going after in the coming weeks and months. Ask you have a board adopted official plan. Wonderful thing. That. What I do want to mention, of course, we have the forthcoming, let me back up a little bit here. No, we got it right. The commuter choice program or projects update is going to be forthcoming on I-395. Some of you may have already received the email that save the date for the NVTC PRTC working group. Don't worry, I think that's April 20th, ample time for that. There's an industry article here as well on the impact of the transit service out in the California area. And then from here, I put it to Barbara Murdoch, General Manager, in a service and staffing.
Good evening, Commissioner and guests. Just want to tell you about a couple of priorities we have coming up. One, you know that in May, we have a new run because I definitely operating, keep their routes and their runs. And we always talk to you about recruitment. We need about 15 to 20 more drivers to meet some of the service expansions. And again, I appeal to you, if you know anybody who needs a job and don't have to have a CDL. We're training people to get the CDL. Susan Blue is our safety manager. She manages that program, and to date, I think we got the VDOT certification like around November of last year. Today, we certified 18 CDL members, so it does work. We have to do attrition because it costs about $1,500. You're trying to get a CDL without completing bus. So we've taken some risks, but it's also paid off. We're planning a recruitment fair later in the month to still bolster that 15 to 20 that we need to service. And also, we're planning several events, passenger and employee engagement that you'll be hearing about. I'm gonna get listing, make sure you're aware of these things. One is meet and greet the managers and the commissioner. If you come out, we're gonna be on one of the commuter lots. And we'd like to invite you to attend the graduation ceremony, some of these trainees, so you get to know them, they get to know us as well. Susan is also over there training. So I'll get the information out to you and just wish you an early Valentine's Day.
Miss Murdoch, will I get to drive a bus? Okay. Presentation. Okay, we're gonna hear the proposed budget by Mr. Phil and then Mr.
Apologies to the screens, but thank you all very much for having. I'm going to try to meet. So the way I think it's the big account is sort of this is the beginning of our budget process. We put together our things plan about 5-6 months out in advance of having started, and we send that information to all of our partners, various jurisdictions, to see if they support things that will change what the process and that nature that they want to their subsidy. But what I'm focused mostly on is the things that we're hoping to bring to the table. The first thing is to highlight several things that will change and some improvements that we're looking to make. The first thing I'd like to touch on, there's a anticipating, I think I'll discuss this and that will be funded by the state. That will basically knock us down, stop in the county. Through I-95. That is a get successfully funded new services for us. We are also looking to implement dedicated paratransit service on this side of the mountain, which is a big change for us. And with that comes the elimination of fixed certification service. For those of you who may or may not be familiar with that, fixed certification, if someone's able to fall in and a bus that say is going on a straight line, they're able to take that bus off with slightly certification. What that does, obviously, is if you're trying to hop on a bus to get someplace, you may or may not be aware of the fact that someone's taking the bus off of the negative capture. So we're very, very hopeful that those two improvements come together and really, really have an impact on service. We also are getting additional length of transit that has been discussed. And so that is reflected in this budget, and we are going to be, we can take the next steps with regards to your fare. Right now it's $6.90 per trip. They're looking to raise that to $9, and we reflected that in this budget. And you know, that also should, Michelle mentioned with the fare being said that continuation of the zero fare global service. So just want to lay that out. Those are the things that we're hopeful to bring. Now we want to try to accomplish some of those that change to the organization. So really, the budget is two main components. See your slides. There's an operating component and a capital component. We're proposing almost $60 million in operating expenses, just over $26 million in capital expenses for a total spending plan of $86 million. Sure. And then we're going to detail move forward. So on the operating revenue side, this is
Sorry, just a quick question. Is maintenance included in the capital or is that completely separate?
there's different types of maintenance. So some maintenance, some of the day-to-day items, you would find that as part of our regular operating expenses. But there's also larger level capital items, which is what's going on in the back at so capital. So I think it's we're going to list categories that answers the question. So on the operating revenue side, what we'd like to certainly want to highlight is that 36% of our expenses are paid for, through subsidies from the county that in the jurisdictions that voted this budget. Last year, that number was 20%, because we had some WP dollars that we used to help provide a little relief. Typically, we've been 3 years preceding that. There's been about 41% jurisdictional participation in our operating budget. So we're on the West jurisdiction. We also use federal grants, which is another significant component of our operating budget. What you have there is essentially two separate things. It is the wind down last spend of our federal recovery dollars, about $10 million reflected there. We also have an additional $6 million for preventative maintenance funds from the federal government, section 7 funding, and they help us pay for some of those maintenance stuff. We also have some state grants as well that is we are reducing state grants for about or about $1.6 billion.
Disappointed to commission. If we have any questions along the way, just feel free to jump in now versus getting to the end. So if you have this.
No. So yes, we're looking to have an increase in state grants, and obviously as we discussed, we have 100% state funded service coming out of the quarter. Slight reductions in the state of five as part of the suburbs that out together. And then the final piece of the operating that I'd like to highlight is customer revenue. We have increases projected in there tied to the fare increase that we discussed. There's also additional feeder services that would have an impact on fares. And then there's a general trend in ridership rate out of the whole one fiscal year. I would say that we've been relatively conservative in that budget, we've heard before, but hopeful that the ridership increases. That customer revenue. Yes. That will begin this process here. I think there's there's a variety of factors that we're considering. We're not reached just yet. However, we have something now, and the process will begin. But with the general environment around inflation, and the fact it's been 2017 since there was an increase, as well as there's an anticipated increase in subsidy that the federal receive. We're hopeful that they're going to push in, for lack of a better way of saying it, tied to this. But we will know a lot more as we go out to the process for this. And again, that will begin this is sort of the
are considering a socialization plan, we're increasing it because we don't want to.
So moving on to operating expenses, one of the things I think is really important to point out is that when you think about the bus contract and van pool, about 65% of the money we spend really goes towards moving people around in some way, shape, or form. That's really what our part of what we're supposed to do here. We have a budgeting of roughly $37 million for the bus contract. That's about 62% of the overall expenses. We have some increases in personnel expenses as well. We are adding one person. We're also projecting to move compensation to the midpoint of salary grades, and that added to retain staff. We have recently added, finding new opportunities elsewhere, and we're really hoping to get a competitive high market and moving forward as well. On the benefit side, tied to that personnel, related to that personnel, there's also a 5% COLA merit increase budgeted as well right now. And on the benefit side, we're projecting roughly 15% increase in our premium costs, as well as again making up for the benefits position. And then finally, another major cost driver, the last thing I'd like to highlight in there is fuel. We estimated to use about 1.5 million gallons. We are taking our budgeted estimate from 275 in last year, which this current year, I should say, which did not, we did not end up attaining that number. I think we're a little bit higher than that in many cases, but we are budgeting 325 for next fiscal year. I can say we're monitoring the futures market. Literally every day I do that, and if we were to lock in now, we could lock in a price perhaps lower than that. But sort of at our back as the price, so pay attention and then see that as well. So we're monitoring that every day, and as a big watch traffic, being able to that and get something predictable. If I could move on to the capital plan next. This slide right here, perhaps tough to see on the screen, but it really shows two components. The chart on the left, it shows the types of projects that we are looking to do. As you might expect, 90%, roughly $23 million of those expenses are related to fleet. 13.6 million in replacement purchase, as well as 9.6 million in expansion services. Those are fleets, and that is related to that quarter. In addition to that, we have some costs that we're budgeting, and that's $5 right now. Thank you. Back here, as you may expect, in this stage, we're getting to the point where things are, active. So we do anticipate having to be on top of things and on top of preventive maintenance schedules moving forward for this facility here, just to make sure that right. And so on the other chart there, this is the fund source. This is important to know who's paying for what. Really, we have a lot of great participation from the state, and we're using a lot of federal dollars this year. We were very aware of the jurisdictional figures, and we tried to get that so that as low the number we can and make sure the jurisdictions supporting operations mostly. So we were able to really just use those funds to match it. 6% jurisdictional match of the capital plan is not as low as that's in our research. So I think that's positive when we do that. And we're trying to operate a rate to do so. Besides that up there. So the last piece I'd like to touch on is the fuel tax plus sponsored jurisdiction. I know this is an issue that has been discussed numerous times, and what I wanted to come off the top and say is that this proposal we are able to make it 24. We can expect no issues as it relates to the fuel tax. But what we do want to walk through, I want to walk through these slides here, is sort of a little bit of a timeline of the funds. We are projecting to end this fiscal year with about a $10 million balance of sponsoring jurisdiction funds. We anticipate throughout the course of fiscal year 24, we're going to earn roughly $15 million more. Those figures come from estimates we are in tax and finance. And then this budget proposes use of roughly $23 million. So that would leave us with a balance of $5 million at the end of this year 24. So carrying that forward and where things become more complicated, where our work ahead is, or ahead of us, that taking that $5 million balance at the end of 20, we're progressing into a fiscal 25 budget. Again, tax revenue projected to be roughly that $8 million range, very constant from this year. But because we're using our last $10 million stimulus subsidy, that is a hole that would be plugged in for fiscal year 25. Again, not this budget, but the one that comes roughly a year from now. So we have this discussion. If we were to fund that $10 million hole in the tax, again, not saying that would happen, but just to demonstrate what that would look like. If we were to do that, that puts us behind $10 million on the balance of tax going next fiscal year. Not a lot we can, certainly a problem to solve here right now. It's something that I do not want to let pass without discussing and making sure everybody's aware of that situation. Again, the work on that is calm. So, you know, I just want to also thank Kendra and Joyce, if I could close here. You know, they've done tremendous work in helping put this stuff together and really did a lot of the job here. So I just want to thank them for their efforts. But at that point, at this point, I'm done. Unless you have any questions, please, you know. Also, too, you know, if it's something you're thinking about, you want to reach out to me at some other point. Please encourage you to give me a call, ask me to stop by, whatever you have more than happy to discuss whatever with anyone that in side. But at that point, I'd like to extend permission to turn it back to the team.
Well, this is your first budget presentation, very good.
That's correct. Appreciate it. You know, a couple of brief comments in terms of the budget, the unbalanced toll, all of that's something that is not new. It's something that was a concern pre-pandemic, but the stimulus fund. Get that hand down the road, this especially the staff, because they're the ones who pay the lion's share of the bill. That eventual $10 million hole sitting there on which this is a surprise. So if you go to the budget director, it's not shocking, it's not a surprise. The Joyce communicates very well with the other funding partners who don't have holes. So there's no. I did want to mention specifically about passenger fares and the increase. The increase is tied to offsets. We might have done a fare increase maybe a year and a half ago, but it was pandemic. The ridership wasn't that high. It's modeled around two things. Number one, the federal allotment is. So the vast majority of employees are federal workers, not all, vast majority are, so this gives them, we're able to recoup more money, keep fair static. We are back to where we were January 27th. And so no other cost is the same. Second, we pulled our utilization data. Of course, this is not with a full federal recall or we're back to 5 days a week. Our average customer is riding 2.5 or 2.5 days a week. So where pre-pandemic, the average number of taps was like 8, would that be 8.3 or 8.4? So that meant they were on average riding in the morning, 4.5 days a week, don't have to be and then coming back 4.5 days. So that magic number. Now it's nowhere near that. So what's happening is the federal allotment is sitting unused. The vast majority of passengers will never experience a fare. To be honest, when we stopped going into DC for the month of December, we offered like 3 fares. People were like, why do we care? Pay for by the feds. So that's an example, or it will give you a free courtesy pass. I don't care about your free courtesy pass because I get my fare. So this is an opportunity to help refill those. Now, what about that person who does have 5 days a week? This will be our base fare, and then we will be working on fare products. That's the important part of going out to the community, figuring out what are all the needs. And we can bundle our packages. Now that we have an app, we can deploy that. We can set a maximum price on all commuter services. So there's things that we can do that are a technology solution for that person who says, man, I'm gonna get it. The goal isn't to bleed someone, not to just bleed our customers. The goal is to recoup the revenue that allows us to keep the system supported, and then therefore we're able to add more dollars to get things done and meet some of these targets. Otherwise, we would be seeing about $1 million less revenue coming in. There's $1 more million we would have to ask for. Now, if we do get our ridership increases, it's not just the increase, it's also passengers coming. So full buses is the target, more revenue coming in from the federal government, not pouring out of our customers. So I just wanted to put that perspective in there, and that's why we go to public comment. Hear someone say, well, hold on, you're gonna leave me dry. Well, let's see what we can do. Commissioner Freeman.
Sure, comment, a couple of questions. I will say with regards to the fare free, it may be true that a lot of residents who work for the federal government may not have necessarily benefited them. I would encourage us if we were to do something like that targeted to those that we want to experience the bus system. I think that's how we try to maximize the benefit. We did that with VRE, got a ton of riders that came on, those that had never taken the VRE before. I'll also just say that I have noted that the fuels tax takes care of fiscal year 2024, but that for future budgets, we'll need to identify a new revenue source or an extended revenue source. Can you talk a little bit about that?
In essence, it ends up being a question of, and this is probably in the history of the motor fuels tax, probably going to be the 5th or 6th time that this commission has had to deal with this. That sound about right, Joyce, with historical perspective? Yes. So it'll get resolved. So it was really bad in 2017, and then the legislature came in and they put a floor on the motor fuels tax. So we could breathe for a year. And then the new change didn't tie it to inflation, it tied it to a flat amount, which is good because you're never in a starve mode, but you're also in a never in a feast mode. So it's very stable in regard to that. What is done, whether it's from general funds, whether it's paid for by other revenue sources, et cetera, that ultimately is up to the local jurisdiction. So Prince William County won't have enough, but Manassas can. Or vice versa, we never know what may happen in motor fuels world. So, but that is most likely, it will just be a question. And again, it's not a secret for David Sinclair, well aware that the key for this year was, I think protecting might not be the right word, but preserving your general fund without contributions coming in, using those motor fuels tax first, and then addressing that, what will be, and it's a fair number to put out there, a $10 million funding hole in outer years. Again, if we get more ridership, we get more revenue, there's more state money coming through, maybe make a little bit of savings in fuel, there may be other ways to offset that. But that is something that without some type of legislative fix or policy.
I will say we built a successful bus off of a non-sustainable. And the discussion about should we charge electric vehicles, why would we do that? We want electric gas, and we can charge them again to sustain buses. So we really one day we're going to address very soon what's the solution. And it may just be all about which is actually even the wrong something that was sustainable. But I would say we believe we built a very so in that future.
But that,
Did you?
Mr. Collins. It's really exciting. The first was in relation to subsidy, and you guys said it, but that doesn't include communication staff. Basically subsidized. The operating revenue, that doesn't include the grant that were applied. That's just what we as a jurisdiction have to pay.
That's correct. That number comes directly from the fact there is a line for both state and federal grants that we directly work with. But to answer your question, yes, I'm directly from that.
Okay, and then the second one, because I thought maybe we would get a breakdown, and I'm guessing that's what you guys will send over to our budget.
Oh,
Yeah, but I wanted to know like the money, and then 'cause for me, for us especially, really difficult budget season, this has been tough. And so I'm curious as to, if how much feel happy we're getting in relation to last year, but if you're submitting the numbers, I think the budget lady.
I do not have the order lines and.
It's okay, I can ask our budget
I
director.
can certainly,
Thank you.
Some jurisdictions are pretty much just covering our portion of the cost of the operation staff and get so much. Operation costs. The reason we're here is our gas tax money comes in the state, so is the other sitting here. Administrative.
Commissioners, any other questions now? Okay, so, thank you, so we have action items before, I would like to roll them into one motion, unless there's any objection. And I'll just briefly tell you what the two action items are. Permission to authorize the executive director to refer the budget to the jurisdiction and conduct public hearings. Does not approve. This is conduct public hearings. Or the second is to, it will be resolution provides a monthly insurance credit to the Virginia retirement system. So the second one is the, to elect to participate in the VRS health insurance credit. So those are the two items that I'd like to roll into one motion, if that's okay. Can I get a motion? Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Sebastian. Okay. Oh, here we go.
11.2 is 45 or that can be 30,000 for the first year or 45,000 and then it's 50,000 thereafter. Is that the number? Oh, correct. Okay. That's good. And it's 15,000, by the way, that's for the VRE employees as well. So it's not just our business, also the
And just may want to clarify that it helps pay the healthcare premiums.
Just as a note, it's Queen County also benefits, so we're modeling some of these benefits together.
All right. We're ready.
Victor Angry.
Aye.
Margaret Franklin.
Aye.
Karen Mills. Kim Short.
Yes.
Tanisha Allen. Monica Gary. Pamela Zabeski. Alana Mensing. Matthew Kelly. Deborah Fraser. Mr. Chairman, that motion is approved.
One action item, and that is the resolution to PRTC executive committee action to confer with Person County appointment to VRE operation. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sebastian, seconded by Commissioner Short. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Victor Angry.
Aye.
Franklin. Karen Mills. Kim Short. Tanisha Allen. Monica Gary. Pamela Zabeski. Alana Mensing. Matthew Kelly. Deborah Fraser. Todd Horsley. Mr. Chairman, that motion is approved.
Yes. Okay, so sorry for sure. That's okay, it's great, great. So then I'll mention the Black History Month program that has been put on, posted, is that? Thank you, but what I'm gonna say is this document will be added to the. We'll get this in your email and everything, and it's going to check that way, you know, the back.
Happy Black History Month. In Spotsylvania County, we have the John J. Wright Education and Cultural Center, and we will be holding, be sharing Black history facts and programs. The Black History Museum is there in Spotsylvania. Spotsylvania holds a lot of historical sentiments for African Americans in the area. And at this particular Black History event, my sister will be the author that will be featured. She is a former first lady at Alabama A&M University and also the first lady, a former first lady of South Carolina State University. And she wrote a book, There Must Be Something in the Water, 4 generations after emancipation. And so if you're not doing anything on the 18th, she will be there from 10 to 12, but also there will be synonymous events going on where there will be a reenactment by the Sunday School Union, Harriet Tubman, and some other events going on. So it's a day full of events, and Black history is our history. It's not for African American, it's with all Americans. So we would invite you to come and share in that opportunity with us. Thank you.
Yeah, folks, thank you so much for that. So again, these we added to dogs, folks can make it up.
I just want to mention one last thing. This book is based on historical facts about the 4th generation from Green Pond, South Carolina, located nestled between Charleston, South Carolina, and Beaufort, South Carolina. That's my home. That's where I grew up. And this is my older sister. It's 11 of us.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
I'm in the middle, so I was.
Thank you. What, that is it for mine. Thing to be great, so, gonna go around. We'll start.
Set it on.
That's
Happy Valentine's Day early to everyone. I hope that whatever day.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna ask if there are any update on the collective bargaining. Issue with the POs.
They're still negotiating.
So I think what we're trying to, what I agree, is that PRT is funded by by the people's dollar. And so obviously, you know, collective bargaining is an important tool that's used, but you know, we do have that concern for our constituents as well, that, so I think that was kind of, we wanted to make sure that the general public understands that that's part of this process.
Yeah, we've got the email, so I'm asking for it.
Yeah, so in for the budget now has been, we finalized the budget, it's going to be transmitted. And using those dollar amounts, that includes projected cost increases for wages, health insurance, and for all parts of the organization. And they're in negotiations with them, participate in it, their dollar within that budget. And then if there's something beyond that, then we bring it back to the funding side beyond. But in general, what we presented as is in reference to what would be a $10 million hole. So it's working through that process, but also I think 1 year from now, we'll be really struggling to put together some of these pieces and take it from. In essence, the 6 jurisdictions in particular.
Thank you.
Well, short.
Okay, so I would just like to say that, you know, Valentine's Day, remember, it's not just about sweetheart self-care. And in this day and age, there's so much good that goes on and so many mental health things out there. I just want to remind people that it's a good time for us to remember that you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And with that.
Not just the, I don't think, I know we have a lot going on. You know, you guys are the part of this. This guy said, being a process. The process, how it works is that this body really isn't the body that's gonna be part of it. So you're gonna go through the process and then we're gonna hear it back and figure out where we're gonna go from there. But I do want to acknowledge all of you here. And so just acknowledge it and then we'll be getting back to reconvening. Hopefully through your process, it all works out well. We just move on and talk. I just want to acknowledge you, thank you for being here, and know that you are the integral part of the team. And with that, I do believe we are. Well, wait, let me catch these guys real quick.
So. I know.